The terminology in this book will be limited to the minimum necessary for a clear understanding, so that only a few of the terms, which are seldom used in popular occult literature, need be explained. These are as follows. Astrazone, as used in the Kabbalah, means the whole complex, which remains when the physical body is taken out of consideration, and refers to the astral and mental bodies combined. In the following lessons, I will use the word, mostly in reference to the astral body alone, and when the mind's conductor, that is, mental body, is meant, it will be mentioned separately. Atman, also the similar principle in man, often wrongly called the soul. Synonymous to the Atman are spirit, supreme self, God, and in Hermetism, the monad. Binary. In the tarot is two opposite, polarized assertions or qualities, definitions or conditions, actions or states, similar to the two poles of a magnet. Binaries as such are unworkable and belong to the realm of unsolved problems. To neutralize a binary means to balance it through the creation of a third element between the poles. This element must contain something from each pole of the binary, and is a concrete solution of the binary, making it workable and applicable to life. Cliché. A French word, the philosophical meaning of which is close, but not identical, to the English image, sometimes also to surroundings. Contemplation of a cliché means that consciousness perceives the surrounding conditions. Clichés may belong to the past, present, or future. They are impressed on the subtle matter of the astral mental planes. They can be seen or read by men with developed psychic abilities. All true spiritual masters are able to see clichés at any time. The Copper Serpent, or the redemptive cliché of the Middle Astral, has the formula Yod-He, Shin-Va-He. It is the aim of the elementars which belong to the evolutionary types. Its realm is the middle and higher astral subplanes. It frees those who are able to come to it from all the dangers between incarnations. Saints and advanced white occultists come to this serpent almost immediately after having left their bodies. In olden times, Moses raised the symbol of that powerful cliché of redemption in the desert when the plague decimated his people. Everyone who looked upon it with faith was saved from death. Later, the Messiah, the Christ, was himself similarly raised in his body upon the cross for the sake of downfallen and suffering humanity. Egregor is a collective entity, such as a nation, state, society, religious and sects and their adherents, and even minor human organizations. The structure of egregors is similar to that of human beings. They have physical bodies, that is, collectively all the bodies of those who belong to the particular egregor, and also astral and mental ones, the egregor being the sum total of all these elements. Egregors have peculiar forms in the superphysical worlds, similar to their symbolized representations, like the lion of Britain, the cock of France, the eagle of Germany, and so on. These forms, as was stated by Paul Sederer, who observed them before World War I, can be seen by a clairvoyant person or by others with direct assistance from a spiritual master, as it was in Sederer's case. In his Initiations, he tells us how, shortly before 1914, he was shown the future of Europe for some years ahead by the mysterious Monsieur Andreas. He speaks about the tragedy of his beloved France, which later bled herself white in the First World War. In the subsequent vision, which was also evoked by the same Andreas, Sederer was also shown the far-off past, going back to the time of Saint Joan d'Arc, and even spoke with her and took part in the mystical ceremony which followed in the dungeons and cellars of the old castle, where the saint was imprisoned before her execution at the stake. There is an interesting moment in the story when Sederer, as can clearly be seen from his narration, was also shown the more distant future, probably World War II, which was so disastrous for France. but he was forbidden to reveal anything about it, although his deep concern shows through his sad words at the conclusion of the chapter. In all these visions, the egregor of France had the form of a cock, while the others were represented by different birds and animals, as mentioned before. Elementar is an adapted term for a dead human being devoid of its physical body. It has to be used here because of the lack of a more suitable word in English. Therefore, the state of being an elementar simply means that in us which remains after our physical death. An elementar, as a disincarnate being, lives on 2 planes instead of 3. That is, only on the astral and mental. Hermetism principally occupies itself with the human elementars. The consciousness of an elementar belonging to an average human man is very dim, like his dreams, and does not reach the clarity of his former physical consciousness. But in the case of an adept or master, the consciousness on the 2 planes is much more lucid than on the physical one. The word elementar is derived from the French elementare. Evolution. This is the antithesis of involution, the ascent of the superior principle from its merging in the inferior, dense realm that is the spirit evolving, ascending from matter. Involutionary tendencies, sometimes occurring in the evolutionary beings, as for example humans, are unnatural for them and against the law of evolution which binds men. Therefore, tendencies such as attachment to material things, sensuality, and so on, are an evil for those beings. The general purpose of evolution is the removal from the consciousness, self, of all material veils, and this is the measure of progress in man. The less involutionary or material attachments he possesses, the higher is the degree of his evolution, and the closer is the day of his reintegration. Exteriorization of the astral element or astrosome. This term is used for the voluntary and temporary abandonment of the physical body by an advanced occultist. No one else can perform such an operation, while retaining full consciousness and awareness of what happens. The Great Arcanum of Magic, or Great Operation. Realization of the conquered supreme occult knowledge, or Hermetism. In other words, the means leading directly to reintegration. Other explanations are in the text of this course. Initiation. Development of the consciousness surpassing the average human level. Knowledge of laws hidden from laymen which govern the life of the universe. Traditionally in occultism, those who know more initiate, or teach, those who are their disciples. True initiation is the direct influencing of the still immature consciousness of a pupil by the perfectly evolved spiritual consciousness of the master. There are some secret societies which are supposed to transmit certain knowledge to the members who pass through their rituals. Involution. The descent of a superior and subtle principle into an inferior and dense one, such as spirit into matter. In other words, the self, wrapping itself in material shells, or forms, lower instincts and feelings. For certain kind of entities who are still on the descending arc of the manifested life creation, involutionary tendencies are natural and right qualities for them, for such is their destiny, their good. If evolutionary tendencies, see evolution, could exist in such involutionary beings, they would definitely be improper and therefore evil for those beings. Macrocosm. The universe as a whole. The consciousness manifested in it is the central consciousness of the whole, not integrated into separate functions.